Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. It's a big day here. We've got our sister station, YLL, has their golf outing.
Yeah, in Bolingbrook.
And we've got ours Thursday. And then we got some new swag today, new Salem Media Group hats. And pretty sporting. I like it. And it says, "I'm a warrior" on the back of the hat, which
is in reference to the memo that we got that you read.
I didn't read it, but I assume it means like we're prayer warriors, we're culture warriors.
Exactly.
I assume. I don't know.
It's through our faith we can make a difference.
Prayer warrior.
Yeah,
and also culture warrior by extension. So I was right.
How do you work in a hat like this?
This is great.
This is bothersome.
Yeah,
I can't
I like
see
this.
around.
I like.
But
this.
it is a slick looking hat. So
now I'm just kind of staring at myself in the reflection.
Do you feel
from the
closer
booth.
to God now that you have this warrior hat on?
I feel closer to Ed Atzinger. that's who, and that's who I need to feel closer to. All right. So, Pete Sessions, Jeff Sessions. God, I always do that. Well, because he's a congressman from Texas.
Yeah, I know.
Jeff Sessions testifies before Congress today, the Attorney General of the United States, and there's real opportunities for him to provide some clarity to all of the swirl being propagated by Democrats, as well as to address some of the things that Jim Comey said last week, to address the underlying reason Jim Comey was fired, to begin perhaps to help the Trump administration do a better job on communication with respect to a matter, to borrow a Loretta Lynchism, where the facts seem decidedly on their side, and you wouldn't get that impression if you watched it from afar with just paying kind of surface skimming attention. Chris Ruddy, friend of the president, CEO of Newsmax, didn't help any when he suggested yesterday that there is a contemplation going on about Special Counsel Mueller's future. We have Ruddy here.
I think he's considering perhaps terminating the special counsel. I think he's weighing that option. I think it's pretty clear by what one of his lawyers said on television recently. I personally think it would be a very significant mistake, even though I don't think there's a justification. And even though, I mean, here you have a situation.
You don't think there's a justification for
a special counsel in this case, but also, I mean, Robert Mueller, there's some real conflicts. He comes from a law firm that represent members of the Trump family. He interviewed the day before, a few days before he was appointed special counsel, with the president, who was looking at him potentially to become the next FBI director. That hasn't been published, but it's true. And I think it would be strange that he would have a confidential conversation and then a few days later become the prosecutor of the person he may be investigating. I think that Mueller should have not taken the position if he was under consideration and had a private meeting with the president and was privy maybe to some of his thoughts about that investigation or other matters before the Bureau.
So two things are interesting about Ruddy's statements. One, the idea that Mueller is, that the Trump is potentially considering firing Mueller, which the White House rejected without responding to directly. The rejection was just in the form of Chris Ruddy didn't speak to the president on the matter. He's just speaking for Chris Ruddy. That's not the same thing as a denial, which was a bit odd. And then also the idea that the real conflict that Mueller has is not because of his friendship with Comey and his professional relationship back when Comey was at Justice and Mueller was FBI director. The real conflict is that his firm represents members of the Trump family and that he interviewed Mueller as a possible replacement for Comey.
Right. But also, too, keep in mind that there's news out this morning from CNN and, mainstream media that members of Mueller's team, 4 of them, have donated tens of thousands of dollars to Democratic candidates.
Well, right. So, I mean...
Well, that doesn't sit well with me. But.
Well, right, appearances of conflicts or,
Well, where they stand politically.
Yeah, the lens through which they're going to see things. Now, you can divorce yourself from your politics in terms of your professional responsibilities, perhaps, but the whole thing, and this is coming from a Trump ally. I mean, with friends like this, who needs Adam Schiff? Chris Ruddy appeared just a few moments ago on Chris Cuomo's show on CNN to further expound on what made headlines yesterday.
The president's spokesman issued what I call a bizarre press release last night saying that I had not spoken to the president about it. And I said, hey, I never said I spoke to the president. And interestingly enough, they never denied my underlying report.
Well, that is interesting enough, but I don't know how the conflict serves the interests of either one of them. Among others, David Fromm has weighed in on the prospect that Mueller would be fired.
I don't want to sound like I have the limited imagination you condemn, but if President Trump really does fire Robert Mueller, he might as well just hire a skywriter to trace and smoke over the White House. I am super guilty.
Yeah, there's nobody that I've heard that believes that firing Mueller is a good idea, and I would certainly be in that camp. That would
be
permanent cloud over the administration, a de facto PR admission of guilt or that a feeling that you're hiding something, credibility gone, Republicans jumping ship, legislative agenda by the boards. It would be potentially the effective end of this presidency in substance. So I doubt that's happening, but it would be nice for the president to make a definitive statement as this is swirling around, because it's these sorts of issues that detract away from the reality that Democrats have no evidence, they have presented no case, and they are the ones that should be on defense rather than Trump and his administration. But it's not the case right now. For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by Paul Bedard. He, of course, is the Washington Secrets column for Washington Examiner, WashingtonExaminer.com. I read it regularly. Always a good read. I actually used something that he unearthed just a few weeks ago in one of my commentaries, this FBI report about cop killers, which was very interesting, about how many were motivated to why many of those who murdered cops last year were motivated to murder them per the FBI report. Paul Bedard, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, Dan and Amy, thanks.
And so your take on what would the best case outcome would be from Sessions' appearance today?
Yeah, I don't think we're looking to hear any major surprises. Pretty much he's already addressed everything that I think the Senate Intelligence Committee is looking for, with one slight exception, which is explaining this third meeting he had with the Russian ambassador. Sessions has been saying all along, heck, man, I'm a senator. I meet with these people. What is the big deal? And I think that will be kind of the thrust of his testimony today.
Was that though a meeting, or just they ended up in the same press conference together? Because I saw CNN had highlighted Jeff Sessions and then the Russian ambassador, and they were 4 seats apart. But you do exchange pleasantries when you see somebody you know.
That's all. And Sessions has said that in his role as a senator, they meet with foreign diplomats all the time, especially the Russians, since they're the big bad dog in the room. And he'll have to address and say, I think firmly, that he did nothing to collude with the Russians to try to take Hillary Clinton down.
I'll tell you what, this is fascinating to me on so many levels. It shows you the importance of proper communication, because I think the Trump administration has so badly mishandled fact-free allegations, legal reference-free allegations, and also just a little bit of institutional memory. 4 years ago, Mitt Romney laughed off the stage by President Obama on the prospect that Russia posed any threat whatsoever. Today, Dan Rather saying Russia committed a psychological Pearl Harbor. I mean, it is just astounding that people that are that unhinged and that beset by contradiction would have the upper hand in this conversation.
Well, it's the whole part of the spin by the Democrats and in Washington especially that you hear, which is, they're trying to delegitimize the Trump presidency, basically say that he was improperly elected. And that, they keep forgetting Hillary got more votes than he did. She just blew it.
All right. What about asking why Comey got fired, and did he play a role in Comey's firing?
Yeah, I think so. And there'll also be questions about, why did he allow Comey to go into that meeting with Trump alone, that one that he complained about, that he said that he asked Sessions, say, don't leave me here alone. I think he'll probably say something to the effect of, the FBI director's a big boy, he can handle himself.
Right.
And the question will be just how how hard the Democrats go after their former colleague Jeff Sessions, and will that kind of cross a line?
Will, and what about Republicans? I hope they're not just going to be window dressing at this proceeding. They have some portions of testimony from Jim Comey to re-review as the exchanges with Loretta Lynch about the Hillary Clinton criminal investigation, the leaking of the memo, Comey's own contradictions, what he said previously before Congress as compared to what he said last week. There's a lot there for Republicans to pour over as well, it seems to me.
Yeah, I think they'll really want to know to what degree the communications were between Sessions and the FBI director. Was did Sessions know about these memos? Did he play any role in blessing Comey's decision to go through a college professor to leak his memo to the New York Times? But I also think that Sessions will be very firm in saying that, and reiterating what Trump has been saying for the past month or so, that he's not under investigation.
And on Mueller, do you see the prospect of firing Mueller would be catastrophic if that were seriously under consideration?
I mean, generally, sure, but part of me also says no. I mean,
okay.
This is a political game that's going on in the city, and unlike in the firing of Comey, it seems to me that once you've got a close friend like Chris Ruddy, starting to leak out that maybe they're get rid of Mueller. I think this is the normal Washington process. We leak things out, and then it gets 2 weeks to kind of act as a trial balloon, and then he decides what to do. But his people would not be against it because they're already describing him, the special prosecutor, as someone who's extremely partisan, hiring prosecutors, so that's a sign that he wants to go after the president, and hiring Democrats. You've got the whole PR operation outside the White House with Chris Ruddy, Speaker Gingrich, folks like that saying that he needs to go. But it would sit well with his people.
But here's the thing. I mean, so Gingrich called it a witch hunt, and Napolitano is warning about this is tricky, and they're going to try and trip you up, and they're going to try and walk both Sessions and Trump into perjuring themselves. But here's the thing. If you continue to play the comms game this way, it seems to me you're extending a story that is hobbling the administration rather than making one declarative address on the topic and saying, I'm done talking about it. There's nothing here. Mueller, go do whatever you're going to do. I'm getting back to the domestic policy agenda.
He's using classic New York kind of media style war. Instead of, like you're suggesting, and rightfully, I think, doing what past presidents have done, which is move on and hope to salvage your agenda. I mean, if this is the fight he wants to pick, and he wants to pick it every day, I mean, president's out tweeting again today about fake news and all that kind of stuff, and Loretta Lynch, he's losing valuable time pushing, infrastructure, changing Obamacare, whatever it is that he wants to do.
Yep, that's my take on it. He is Paul Bedard. We appreciate his take on it. Washington Examiner's Washington Secrets columnist. Check him out at WashingtonExaminer.com and also Twitter at SecretsBedard. Paul, thanks so much for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks a lot.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.